It started.
Good evening, colleagues. Welcome to the meeting of the exec member regeneration portfolio. First item on the agenda is monitoring of exec cabinet member decisions, which the document is enclosed. So if there are any questions, queries, I'm happy to take those at this stage. No? We okay with that? Thank you. Second item, Directorate of Play's Finance Report 2023-24 quarter 3. Janet, I assume it's yourself? Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. So this is the quarter 3 finance report for the whole of the Directorate of Place. The Directorate's currently projecting an overspend at the end of the year to the value of £685,000. For this particular portfolio, the overspend is going to be £356,000. The main variance for this portfolio relates to the planning division. Key financial findings can be found on page 3. Service-specific findings can be found on page 17, which is Appendix 2. And the executive cabinet member is asked to note the report and to make the approvals identified within the report. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions, Councillor Warren? Yeah.
Thanks. It's just regarding the refunds. Is there any kind of idea of how much that is expected to come in at as yet? You know, for the planning application.
Yeah, because I'm not actually in work at the moment, is it okay if I put you over to John and ask John to answer the question, please?
John?
Yeah, thank you. Forgive me, Councillor Warren. I'm reluctant to commit a number at this moment in time. There is still a live piece of work taking place with colleagues in the finance team and the planning officers. We've identified probably a number of applications where we are concerned that they may not necessarily be eligible for a refund. So there is an element of, I guess, attempting to overlay some further legal advice as to whether or not those applications would meet the eligibility criteria. So I think if you will forgive me for not responding directly in terms of the financial sum, I'm just conscious that we haven't concluded that piece of work, so I'm just a little bit reticent about pushing a figure out only for it to potentially change. But we are keen to bring that work to a conclusion shortly. I'm conscious that the recommendations in the monitoring officer's report were to move to formulate a PDG meeting where we can set out the findings of the wider internal audit review into this particular matter, but linked to that to also then be able to present information in relation to the financial liabilities, whether that be set over a 6-year period as per advice, or the extended 10-year period, which I know is an issue that's been highlighted by elected members. So forgive me, as I say, if I'm not specific in terms of the numbers, but I'm just keen to ensure that we conclude that piece of work before communicating the potential financial liability.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? No, thank you. In that case, we'll move to item 3 on the agenda, district centres funding update. Paul, is that yourself?
I was going to say, Chair, I'll members will be familiar with the district centres master plans that were undertaken, and for Little Lever, there's a number of priorities. Some of those have actually been delivered now. And priority 3 was the Mytham bowling hut, and it's a key asset for the local area. So there has been already £220,000 allocated and approved for that. And the options have been considered about, now that prices have increased, about what to do and how to still deliver this priority. And the proposal is to, within the report, is to allocate a further £110,000, including contingencies, to provide £330,000 to ensure that the bowling hut can be redeveloped and provided. There is sufficient budget available. And Matthew's here just in case there's any detailed questions that you want to ask. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Warren?
Thanks, Chair. It's just regarding is the hut going to be replaced? Or is this to demolish the existing hut and then put a unit in its place? Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, yes, Councillor. The initial proposals were looking at sort of redeveloping the existing hut, but they were all deemed too expensive. The cheapest option was therefore to demolish and replace with a repurposed shipping container, which will be cladded and fitted out for community use.
But it's going to be on the site of the existing hut?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions, queries from colleagues? Okay, well, in that case, I note to approve the report, and can we move to the next item on the agenda? Item 4, Rivington Chase Brownfield Land Fund 2 Grant Funding Agreement.
So again, just by way of introduction, Rivington Chase has been a 20-year project that's gradually getting towards nearing completion. The 12 million pounds of HIF funding is being progressed and delivered, and there's always been the intention, when money's come available, to try and secure additional funding to cover off elements of the construction and the build and the wider redevelopment of the loco works. Peter can take you through the fine detail involved in this particular bid, but it secures an additional £2 million to bring forward works to two of the main rivers, an asbestos tip, and remediation of a section of the loco works and a section of council land. Peter, do you just want to go
Peter?
into?
Yeah, you want to come in?
Well, thank you, Chair. Good evening, everybody. The grant has come from the GMCA, and we're looking to finalise the agreement with the authority. It, as Paul has said, is looking to fund works that relate to the Nelly's Clough culverts and bring forward land that's in council ownership that can come forward for housing. There's a condition that we would expect to be to deliver 219 houses would expect to be delivered onto the land. The mechanism we're looking at here is to pass the grant straight through to Alpha Investments, who are effectively developing the site. So not only is it this report looking for approval to enter into the GFA, the grant funding agreement with the GMCA, but also to allow us to then passport that money through to Alpha, who are effectively undertaking the works.
Thank you. Any questions, queries from colleagues? Councillor Rotherham?
Yeah, how much is the funding for?
It's £2 million.
2 million. And this bit of land, it's a combination of what Blue Mantle owns and Bolton Council. Is this, what's the word, Paul? Where it's an additional amount of house building above and beyond what was originally.
Yes. Yes.
So that's an extra 219 houses.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Right. Okay. When are they looking to build these houses? Have they indicated when they'll start building them?
Well, the planning application hasn't come in for the houses yet. Right. This work is to de-risk that portion of the site as you drop down off the plateau. Right. That will then enable an application to come forward to put houses on that portion of land, which again, as we've indicated, is partially council owned, so we will need to go through the evidencing best value and how much money the council can secure out of the site. There's a number of factors in play. So London Continental Railways and Homes England have a charge against the site and an overage against the council's land, because the land was purchased by Homes England many moons ago. So they need to be reassured that any value that's created is invested back into the wider site and into the local community. So the council, in securing this investment into the site, is looking to de-risk some of the land to enable it to come forward for housing, to get the best possible value that we can for that parcel of land, and then that money would be we've got the opportunity, as we discussed before, to look at what the options are to invest that money back into the site.
Yeah, is this was sort of presented in the last liaison group meeting? Am I correct? That idea, yeah.
Yeah, we certainly talked about the opportunity to bring forward further housing on top of the what the council's already committed to with the Homes England HIF grant.
Yeah. Is this an addition to the land that there was some kind of land swap given to Blue Mantle or Alpha, which way regards to them paying for the extension of the spine road?
Again, through you, Chair. No, this is so that there is a conditional sale agreement in place to bring forward this land, which would ensure that there was sufficient funds in place to proceed with the road. If some of this funding would be used to ensure that we de-risk that parcel of land and support the delivery of the road, but it would enable the housing to come forward quicker, and enable the required funding that's for the road in excess of the £12 million to come forward quicker.
Yeah, I think in the past we've discussed the potential of this windfall site, that some of that Section 106 money could be used to create a slip road down on the A6. Do you recall that? Is that still a consideration?
And the highways team are looking at that and working on that. I mean, ultimately, when we understand what the value of all the council land is, including the land on the plateau that's council owned, then we'll be bringing forward to Councillor Zaman at the options and the appraisals for what we could do with that money, as well as sports pitches and other things that the local members have indicated.
Yeah, that's just brought me on to the next thing. So just to be clear, as you come down the spine road from the plateau towards the new junction at the roundabout, there's only going to be housing developed on the left-hand side of that land, not on the right-hand side going towards Red Moss, in between the plateau and...
It would be on the left and the right. But not all the way down to the police station roundabout.
Right, because the reason I asked, you know what I'm going to ask now, is we just need to identify that land that you suggested we could use for sporting provision in that alcove next to the Red Moss, and sort of in that little alcove between Red Moss, the old tip and the plateau. So we can actually, because what I'd like to do is get an idea of how much of that land is going to be set aside for sports provision, and I presume some of the Section 106 of this money would go some way to paying for new sports facilities as well as possible grants that we could get hold of.
And yes, Chair, I'm aware that it's not part of this report.
Yeah,
but,
sorry, I thought I'd get you on the hop.
But ultimately, we're aware of all of that,
Yeah,
and
okay.
we'll bring all of those matters back to the chair as part of a future report once we know what the value is that we can work with.
Yeah,
I personally have no issue with the Twin Falls site for additional housing because of the benefits it would bring. So I'm happy to vote in favour for that if there is a vote. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Rotherham.
Sorry about that,
There's
guys.
no vote, but thank you. Councillor Warren has been waiting very patiently. So, yeah,
right.
Councillor Warren.
Thanks, Chair. So how long would the remediation work be expected? And then obviously the next stage from that, which would be bringing this site forward for potential housing and obviously the application after that. How long is this expected to take?
I mean, realistically, it should be shorter than 6 months. We're expecting the remediation to be, it's a £2 million of grant. We're assuming that £1 million of that would be spent before the end of March, because the contractors who are building the road would be doing this work and they're already on site, and they'll be pre-ordering all of the culverts and everything for the for Nelly's Clough and the works needed to cap off the asbestos tip, and then the remainder of the spend would be within the first 2 months, but if not 3 months of so April, May, June. And
I've got one more comment, if that's okay, just to come back on it. It's just regarding the charges and overage. So are they pretty set? And in terms of the council owned land, because obviously if there's brownfield funding that's gone into that, which obviously will increase the value of the land, but in terms of the overages and that kind of negotiation, if you like, that has to be had with Blue Mantle, I suspect, is it?
Well, it's with London and Continental Railways.
Right.
So they have a 50% overage on the land value, but we're able to subtract the costs of undertaking works that would provide the access to that land. So the road and a lot of the works that are underway anyway can be subtracted from the value of the land before we consider the overage.
So it's win-win then, isn't it? Because this is government money that we've got coming in. It's going to clean up an asbestos tip.
Yeah.
You know, so it's positive, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Warren. Councillor Rotherham, is that an old hand? Or
no, just a quick one. It's just for you know who it's for. Is that Ashworth tip? Just to confirm that one that you can cap.
Yes. Yeah. There's 2 tips, 3 tips in fact. There's so the one in the middle of the site as well. There's some work being done to that, which is on council land, where there's a quite, well, I say a big ravine, bit of a ravine halfway down the plateau, that's part of the asbestos tip, and that needs to be capped off as well. That will, and it's council owned, that will enable then in future some development to happen on that part of the site.
Yeah, that's lovely. Thanks for that, Paul.
Thank you. I do not see any other hands, so I'm happy to approve the grant funding agreement as set out in the agenda. So thank you, and that brings me to the end of the meeting. And have a nice evening, and thank you for attending.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you, Chair.
Cheers. Thanks, Paul.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, members. Thank you.
Bye.